Imagine growing up in a world where every day you feel like something is wrong with you. Because every interaction that you have with people, they make you feel like you're less than a human being. But also imagine that you know that those people are wrong. Because you believe that deep inside of you, there's a beautiful human being that just needs to have an opportunity. I was only a teenager when my dad put me on a bus all the way from San Salvador, El Salvador, in Central America. Supposedly, I was fleeing a civil war. Maybe the shame of a father raising a transgender child. It didn't matter. I arrived in Silver Spring, Maryland, and I fell into a human trafficker situation. 4 days a week, and a full 16-hour day on Friday. I was made to work, and by the end of that Friday, I had to hand my paycheck to the traffickers. But one day, rape made me run away. And I ended up here. DuPont Circle and the Georgetown Bridge have become my new home. Nothing could have prepared me. Not even the bullying, the harassment, the violence that had become my everyday way of life had taught me what will come my way growing up a transgender youth homeless in the nation's capital. But not everything was horrible. It was beautiful. I remember in 1989, I strolled on 17th Street and I ran across 17th Street CBS. It was Halloween. Beautiful merchandise. A silver eyeshadow with lots of glitter kept calling my name. And I was like, what's going on? I quickly ran, but I couldn't really wait to get to a bathroom because I was so ready to plaster that silver glitter on my beautiful brown eyes. I saw myself in the mirror, and for the first time, I could see a beautiful human being. I cried. I cried because for the first time I saw my gender identity and my gender expression coming together, and they lit up my soul. And I felt that I no longer had to live in the dark because for the first time I felt what it was like to be a beautiful woman. At this point, I decided that no fear of death, that no fear of growing up poor, vulnerable, will take away my joy of living in my true self. I quickly became acquainted with the neighborhoods. Actually, DuPont Circle was fun. Living under that bridge, which had become the home of the disposable, a term that was used by the Southern Law Poverty Center. In a story that I was a part of, they called us disposable people. It was a story about killings of transgender Black and brown women in the nation's capital. And it was a story that was very painful. It was living under that bridge that I also knew that in this city there are two worlds. One of those worlds is the worlds of the haves. But there we were, the disposable kids, lots of young kids growing up under this bridge. And we knew that one day that we too will have a chance and an opportunity to be just like them. Among the disposable youth, many of us were transgender, gay, lesbian, bisexual. Many of us became leaders, gay, trans civil rights leaders in the early 90s. Now in the neighborhood, I went to my first gay bar. It was Mr. Peace. It was full of drag queens, so I felt odd because I didn't have a beautiful makeup. But it was here that I met my mother, Xavier Bloomingdale. And Xavier was an African-American drag queen who impersonated Cher with her beautiful gowns. This woman was also feeding us, and every evening she will open the doors to new talent so we could perform on stage. She called new talent, but many of us didn't have any talent. I couldn't lip sync, but she always did it, singing for her life. It was here that I also met Miss Willie, a transsexual Black woman. And for the very first time, I could see what a transgender body looked like. I learned of this doctor in Northeast. He had been prescribing female hormones to transsexuals for many years. And I quickly ran over there, and I met him. He only asked me, "How do you feel?" I said, "I feel amazing because I'm about to take the next step in my life." He gave me a shot, and I felt that I had been born again. It was here that I also learned of Tyra Hunter. Tyra Hunter was an African-American woman who was involved in a car accident. And when fire and EMS personnel in this city arrived to rescue her, they discovered that she had male genitalia, and they stopped treating her. She died later on, a few days later, in DC General. Her mother sued the city, and not only she won money, but this was the tipping point for my community to fight back for liberation. And it was here that I became this beautiful transvestite named Ruby Bracamontes, a Latina that will perform my favorite performer song, Selena. I didn't look like Selena, but I was really good at lip singing. And in 1999, I took my hormones again, and I decided that I will no longer live in the wrong body, that I actually will take charge of my own destiny. I took with my friends to the streets of the city to demand dignity. We took on the streets, we marched, we worked with our local legislators, and in 2002, and between 2002 and 2004, we changed the local Human Rights Act to add transgender identity and gender expression into our local constitution. That's what I call it. After all, we had to work to put a path for our next generation. It was here that I also continued to see poverty in my community. Rights didn't make us privileged. But what it did is it gave us a sense of value for ourselves. It was here that I decided that I needed to take my work into the next stage. And in 2004, I founded an organization called Casa Ruby. I didn't want just an organization asking for money, doing work. I wanted to build a movement of people, the people that were denied an existence right here in this city. I also saw a gender war. Lots of beautiful people taking on our gender identity in a society that was not ready for it. We actually had to teach cisgender people that we too had a right to exist right here. Many people feel uncomfortable. I will be asked to leave buses, one time I was told to leave a grocery store. They said they didn't want people like me. But I knew that I had to change that. So later on, I opened the center after the one last time that I was homeless, after getting shot. I was left for dead in my apartment. And when I woke up, I knew I wasn't done. So after I got myself a hold of $12,000, I opened the first center on Georgia Avenue by Howard University. It was here that I was honoring the life of my daughter, Stacy, a young transgender Latina who lived with me for 13 years. And when she left, not only she owned a home on the streets that she slept on Columbia Road, but she had a career. She's a nurse, at a local hospital. And she now takes care of people who one day deem her disposable. Somebody once asked me, do you think that there's social justice in Washington, D.C.? And I said, the only thing I can share with you is that I don't know any other place in the world where a young immigrant, transgender, homeless prostitute with HIV can have a dream of doing work in her own community and uplifting people and making it come true. I do believe, and I'm here to share with you, that if you believe that your dreams are big, when they become a reality, they become bigger when others dream with you. My name is Ruby Corado.